Hi grade 11s, I am just going to go through the answers to questions 3 and 5 quickly. We've already marked 1, 2 and 4. So for number 3, you can see here that at the top of the fraction we have sine squared. That doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter, or rather I should say it doesn't matter which quadrant it's in. 180 plus x is quadrant 3, but because it's sine squared x, it's always positive. So that will make that whole sine squared x positive. You will get a mark for that. If we're looking at the bottom of the fraction, x minus 180 is in quadrant 3 and cos is negative in the third quadrant. And then for the next question, or the next part of the question rather, x minus 360 is quadrant 1, so cos is positive there. Now after that, you can see that you have a negative and another negative which go together to make a positive, because it's a negative, in this case, divided by a negative or times by a negative, doesn't really matter. That becomes a plus. And at the top of the fraction, you have sine squared x. At the bottom of the fraction, guys, cos x times cos x is cos squared x. So when you simplify that fraction, you end up with that. And then just to simplify it slightly more, sine squared over cos squared is tan squared. So that is the final answer there. For number 5, there was quite a lot going on in this question. X minus 180 is quadrant 3, tan is positive there. For the next one, 180 plus is also quadrant 3, and sine is negative in the third quadrant. Cos of negative x is quadrant 4, cos is positive there. And then again at the bottom of the fraction, in our denominator, we have sine squared, so it doesn't even matter which quadrant that's in. So you can see I just went straight to sine squared x. Then after that, what I did was I multiplied the plus and the minus here together to give me negative sine x cos x. And I also changed tan x to sine x over cos x. Now that gives me a compound fraction, meaning I must multiply every term in my entire fraction by the denominator of that inner fraction that we have, which is cos x in this case. So I'm multiplying each term by cos x, which means that these two cos x's are going to cancel out. I'm left with sine x only. In the next term, it's minus sine x, and then cos x times cos x is cos squared x, and at the bottom, I have sine squared x times cos x. What I did next is I took sine x out as a common factor. So let me actually just show quickly. You will probably get 1 or 2, probably 1 mark for simplifying that whole fraction. I took sine x out as a common factor, and now guys, we know that 1 minus cos squared x is sine squared x, so that was the next thing that I did. There we go. Then I could cancel out the sine squared x at the top with the sine squared x at the bottom. I was left with sine x over cos x only, and that will give me tan x as my final answer.